welcome back. We were talking about the Yahoo Riders for Yahoo Sports. Just did their first round draft, their entire draft. And it was very interesting what they did in the first round. But before we hit that, I wanted to talk to Daniel. They did all wide receivers their first round, which I think a lot of drafts that people do serious fantasy football players, I think it's going to go the same route. But I want to ask Daniel, what's your strategy in how you draft? And you're in an extra league this year. You're joined another one of my leagues. So you're in 2 leagues this year. What's your strategy in drafting? Like, what do you draft and what do you look for?
Well, for me, I've always drafted, like I said, typically the first round or two, I've always gone running back. I've always gone for the power horses. However,
because they're hard you want a bell cow, they're hard to find.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather pick the guys who I feel like, the running backs that are going to be taken the first 2-3 rounds are going to be your guys that you want, as opposed to if you look in the later rounds and then you're kind of fucked with an Arian Foster. But and so you really still want to make sure you have those type of guys. For me, my strategy is always I'm kind of conservative with it. I like to look for running backs, and then as I kind of go to around the 3rd round maybe, I start looking for who's the best available, who's the guy that you should take. I mean, people are going QBs 2nd, 3rd. I don't really personally look at QBs very early. I'm just not an early taker of the quarterback.
Yeah.
I usually go receiver. If I'm going to go and divert from the running back after the 2nd round, I'm probably.
So this year, what would you do?
Well, this year's different. I think I'm going to go for who's the best available. I'll probably pick a running back, but I'm also going to look at, depending on where I draft at, that's also a big.
If you have the number 1 pick this year, what would you do with it?
Shit, I'm probably going to go receiver. Yeah. I'm actually going to change the trend. I'll probably go receiver. Yeah.
I definitely would. Typically, I go, in my first 4 picks, I go 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs.
Right.
And then my 5th pick, I go either good value with wide receiver or running back, or I take my first quarterback.
Yeah.
And I take a flyer on tight end later, with like a Delaney Walker, or I take a flyer on someone. Mm-hmm. And what about for you defenses and kickers? I take those my last 2 picks.
They're your last 2. I mean,
definitely take a kicker
is
last.
The very last.
We can't stress that.
It's always you always
don't be an idiot.
Exactly.
Try not.
When it's
don't be the first guy. Don't be the goat to be the first guy to take a kicker.
I've been in a league where kickers have gone by the 8th round, and you're like, you got so many more rounds, God. And who is taking a kicker in the 8th round? Yeah. So you need to don't take a kicker for the last. They'll be available. Plus, I'm one of those assholes that actually I don't keep my kicker for the whole year anyway.
No,
I have 3 or 4 kickers,
switch them around. So, and I take a defense late, and then I usually switch them up, and I play defense per matchup, depending on. I'll switch up, and I'll usually draft the Bills, and then I'll play them for a while, and then depending on matchups, say the Chiefs or well, that's a bad example. The Chiefs have a good defense. Oh, it depends. Yeah. I'll play per matchup.
Yeah, it depends on the lineup.
Yeah.
That week.
I'll drop them, pick up somebody good that's playing a horrible offense. I'll pick up another defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this year, I think wide receivers are going to rule. Here's what Yahoo Writers did. Here's the first round. And I haven't told any of this, but here's what they did. Antonio Brown, number 1 pick. Then Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, A.J. Green, Des Bryant, Allen Robinson, number 6, DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. David Johnson for the Cardinals was the 8th pick. There was a running back in there. Then Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, then Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott. I was totally wrong. There were a couple running backs in there. Then Ashton Jeffrey, T.Y. Hilton, Brandon Marshall, then Gronk. And then we get some running backs. But mainly taken over by wide receivers.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to frown at you for taking Todd Gurley or David Johnson in the first 3 or 4 picks, though. I
No.
mean, that I think that's a no-brainer. They're going to still get you the same amount of points, in my opinion, for as a top receiver would.
What about Ezekiel Elliott? Do you take him
in the first?
first?
You know, I was on the fence about that until I started doing my homework, and it really looks like he's a first rounder in almost in just about any league. He looks like he's going to be taken first. I don't know if I would, but I might be. You should ask me at the end of the season if I'm still on the fence whether I take that guy first round, but he might be a rock star, and I might regret that.
He could
decision.
be. I tell you what, if I'm in a 12-man league at pick 11, and I come around that back corner, and I get Allen Robinson, and come around back and get Ezekiel Elliott, or vice versa, I'll grab both in a heartbeat, and feel good about it. All right, let's talk about players outside the top 150 that we think you should grab but not reach for.
Well, I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
I like my boy Spencer Ware. I mean, we know Jamal's coming back.
Yep.
He will be the starter week 1, but I don't think he's going to get as many reps as he used to. He's coming back from 2.
I agree. I've heard
it's going to
Chiefs
be.
might
Yeah, you're right.
slow him down a little bit,
He's
and
not going to be the guy.
and they know they have 2 other very good backs.
Sharkhandrick West, Spencer Ware is going to be kind of a running back by committee, and defenses are going to hate us. And I think Ware's he's a pounder, man. He's a guy that will give you points, especially if you need someone a little bit more in your depth chart. He's the guy to look for. Number 2, Bruce Ellington, wide receiver, San Francisco.
Yeah.
Torrey Smith is starting to kind of get up there.
Yeah.
And he may be their number 1 wide receiver going
could
a little
be.
later into the season. He's a guy to kind of watch out for. So
Very fast guy, and a guy that the Chiefs passed on in the draft a couple years ago, and they shouldn't have.
Very true. And last but not least is Paul Perkins, the running back for the Giants. He was drafted, I believe. When was he drafted? Fifth round?
I think so. 4th or 5th round.
Yeah. Rashard Jennings is the guy right now, but I think the best running back in the depth chart of the Giants is that guy. I think Paul Perkins is the starter by the end of the year, and he's going to be good, I think.
I'll always put my money on the 21-year-old over the 30-year-old
Yeah.
any day. Or 31-year-old.
Yeah,
he's 31.
He's 31. Jennings
Yeah.
is 31, yeah. So,
Yep.
and you?
I love Philip Dorsett, wide receiver for Indianapolis. He's a downfield burner. Second-year guy out of Miami. Over the last 3 seasons, Andrew Luck has thrown the ball 5th most passes per game for any quarterback. And he's healthy now, Andrew Luck. So I think, and with 3 wide receiver sets, I think Philip Dorsett is going to shine.
Yep.
Sammy Coates, wide receiver for Pittsburgh, with the Martavis Bryant suspension. I think he's way going to outshine Marcus Wheaton. Marcus Wheaton has shown last year that his ceiling is very low. Marcus Wheaton has not performed well. I drafted Marcus Wheaton last year because Martavis Bryant was suspended for 4 games, and Wheaton let me down. Sammy Coates has had a huge mini camp and has had a very good week 1 preseason. So I love Sammy Coates. A lot of talk about him. Going to be he's very long and fast guy. And Kamar Aiken for Baltimore,
Aiken was awesome last year.
who was probably one of the top 5 waiver wire pickups for anyone last year. Last year, 673 yards, 56 catches for his last 9 games. I think that was after Steve Smith went down. Total for the season, 944 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 12.6 yards per catch. So I think this guy's very talented. Steve Smith retired, then kind of unretired. Brashard Perriman, who's their first round draft pick from last year, is kind of he's come back from an injury, so it's kind of still his rookie season. I think Kamar Aiken here could be the number 1 receiver.
Yep.
He's the young veteran. I think he could shine, and you can get him very late.
Yep.
So I think he's a good pick.
Yep. And Keith's going to be here this week, but he gave us some top threes. Kenneth Dixon, running back for Baltimore. He's was drafted 4th round. Had 87 touchdowns in college. He's going to be a stud, I think. Justin Forsett still top on the depth chart, but he could
now.
he could definitely dethrone him. He had DeAndre Washington, a Raiders running back, also the Big 12 rushing.
I like
leader.
that guy.
So he could be someone to kind of watch out for. And finally, Michael Thomas.
I love Michael Thomas.
Wide receiver, yeah. I actually think that guy could be
lighting
awesome.
it up right now.
Yeah, he was a stud at Ohio State. So
Yep.
those were his picks. But
God, nobody from Nebraska?
yeah, can you believe it?
What a douche.
But all
What
right,
an anti-homer. No Nelson Aguilar?
nothing. Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, anyway, that was it for
That was our
this
show.
video. Yeah. I think we'll have 2 more videos for next week. We'll hopefully have Keith back. So just make sure if you haven't seen our first video, to click on that, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Once Keith gets back from the free clinic, he'll be back next week. All right. Thanks for watching. And check out our Pokemon video.